Shoots and Score Hockey Talk, where we talk everything hockey. I am John.
I'm Chris.
All right, guys, or Chris, let's go, because once again, Mike was not able to make it tonight, but I have a feeling that we're going to see him next week. Man, what is it with you guys going away on vacation in the middle of hockey season? I just don't get it, but I understand.
Well, Mike's a good planner. Mike's a good planner, right? He knew Philadelphia wasn't going to make the playoffs, right?
You know what? I think that you're right. He just knew Philadelphia wasn't going to make it. And he said, well, I'm just not going to show up for some of these questions. But
anyway. He's checked out. He's already checked out. And the Rick Tocchet news, he's probably all excited about that. And that's all excitement he can handle to the draft.
I am sure that the next time we see him, he's going to have a Rick Tocchet jersey on the show. I can almost guarantee it. So.
Oh, yeah. He had one. I'm sure he still has the same one from.
He still has it. He still has it. And it seems like it's been forever since we talked, because you guys were away last week. We decided not to try and do a show remotely because you were in Trinidad, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a long ways away, and I just figured the time zone must be kind of messy.
Same time zone, but I was spending more time in the beaches and.
Right. And Mike was in Vancouver, so I mean that's kind of a nightmare. Yeah. So whatever, we skipped a week, but that's all right. But we can get into it here. I mean, things were finishing up in the second round, and now obviously things are potentially getting close to finishing up in the third round. The first thing we're going to talk about is the Western Conference Finals between the Edmonton Oilers and the Dallas Stars. Now, the Oilers are up 3-1. Shocker. I'm shocked. I'm surprised. I'll be the first to admit it. I didn't think that they'd be up 3-1. Mm-hmm. Let's chat about the series a little bit, Chris. What do you think so far? Are the Oilers going to make the finals again? Has Dallas been sufficient in putting up a fight?
Yeah, it seems like we're going to have Oilers and Panthers in the finals again. Oilers are getting production from guys that you don't expect, or they're producing over what they've done in the past. Corey Perry, I think, with 6 goals here in the playoffs. I think last
6
night.
6 or 7, yeah.
Last night Nugent Hopkins had a real good game, and everyone's talking about Nugent Hopkins again and how valuable he is, and so on and so forth.
He's been really good this series.
Yeah, he's and then Jekyll and Hyde, goaltender, and Skinner, 3 shutouts. Hit or miss with this guy. I don't. I'm not sure what's going on with Dallas. I know in the analytics world, the focus has been on Cody Ceci, their right shot defenseman that maybe 2-time GM of the year Jim Nill thought was good enough for this team. And I even saw a tweet from Dom. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, so I'm not even going to try. But he had a tweet back in October or September kind of showing Dallas's top 3 defensemen and then the next 3 defensemen, and kind of basically saying, I don't know about this. And now, of course, we're in the playoffs. And I think the stat I saw is Cody Ceci is -10 on the ice. And
in this series?
+10. Yeah, +10
wow.
when he's not on the ice. So it's a big discrepancy there. Cody Ceci's been terrible everywhere. So he's gone. Dallas, and I think we mentioned this as the season was winding down, or at least I mentioned at the trade deadline, I think one of the podcasts, that Seth Jones should have been the guy Dallas should have been all in on.
Right.
And not Rantanen. They already had enough offense. I don't know, this series, they're struggling to score with all that talent. But they needed that 4th defenseman. And, Rantanen was cooking earlier in the playoffs. Ebbs and flows, right? This is how it works. If you're going to put 14 points in 5 games, you're probably going to go 10 games with only 4 or 5 points, right? That's at the end of the end of the day, they end up with a point per game, right? You're going to end up with that spot anyway. So, it's funny because the narrative is that Carolina doesn't have enough scoring and they can't score. Dallas has all this talent, and yet they've scored the same number of goals in this third round. So the narrative is a little weak on Dallas, I think, and a little too strong in Carolina.
I've watched, I'm not able to stay up late enough to watch all the Oilers games, obviously. I mean, whenever they were on the weekend or whenever I wasn't working and I had the time, I had the chance. And I watched the first period pretty much of every game, at least the first period. And I don't understand. I really the goalie carousel thing just baffles me to no end. Like you said, it's either shutout or it's in 6 goals. It seems like, and I know it's not that bad all the time, but there's one thing that you have to say about Skinner. They pull him because he has a bad game. They put him back in, whatever, a couple games later, gets a shutout. The guy is unflappable.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he's not is not being bothered by all this. So, and when he's in net and he's good, he looks really good, just like you said. And then when he looks bad, he looks really bad. I don't know if that is more to do with him or if it has to do with the team. I'm not 100% sure.
It could be. It's probably a combination of both, right? If the Oilers aren't playing defense, he's probably getting a lot too many high danger chances against them.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm a believer in the Oilers now.
Yeah, all about the vibes.
So, go Oilers, go. I want to see them win. I know not too many people were picking them to beat Vegas.
Yep. Nope, they've been
Vegas,
underdogs all 3 series.
right. But Vegas was going to put an end to them. This was going to be it. They're going to expose Oilers goaltending and perhaps defense. And the Oilers had such an easy time with them. It was almost like they didn't even break a sweat out there. It was pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to just go on to something else about this. Something here I have written down, and I want to get your opinion on it. The Oilers are 5 for 13 on the power play in this series, 38%. Now, that's pretty good. The Oilers' power play wasn't so great at the beginning of the playoffs, and their penalty killing was awful. Seems like their penalty killing has gotten a lot better, and their power play is getting better. Is this what's going to lead them to the promised land? Penalty killing, power play? I mean,
In the playoffs, those two special teams are very, very critical. Personally, I've seen Carolina lose series because they get demolished on the penalty kill, even though they've been number 1 or 2 in the last 4 or 5 years in a row.
right.
They'll run, Tampa Bay lift them up in the power play. The Rangers lift them up. These high end teams, when they're rolling in the power play, it's a recipe for success in the NHL. And if you can kill it too, even though penalties are kind of down in the playoffs, even though some games there's still some refs calling some weird, interesting, scratching your
True.
head penalties. When they do occur, if you got that power play rolling, it could be the difference in a 2-1, 3-1 game, right? So.
Right, right. It's true. It's
And I
true.
think I heard Dallas, like, because Dallas was smoking on the power play against Colorado, Winnipeg, and now against Edmonton. They're not scoring power play goals, and they're not scoring 5-on-5 goals. So it's accumulating on why they're losing.
Before we go on any further, so I'm watching the Oilers game the other night. So Nugent Hopkins is bringing the puck in on the power play, and he's on the same side roughly as Draisaitl. So he's closer to Draisaitl than he is away from him. Gets over the blue line. Anyway, whatever it is that they're doing, he feeds it over to Draisaitl, who's, like I said, not a long ways away from him. Draisaitl let the puck go so quick. Ottinger hardly moved, and it was in the net, just like that. I mean, you cannot let these guys get the time and space to be shooting pucks like that. Draisaitl will kill you.
Yeah.
This guy knows how to shoot a puck. And there was nobody even near him, really. I mean, he just shot it, and man, no wonder they're 5 for 13 on the power play. No wonder they're 38%. I think Dallas has to do a better job. Well, they better do a better job in an awful hurry. It's going to be all over really quick. Do you think that Edmonton can win in Dallas for game 5? What do you think? Or game 6? Or game 5? Game 5.
Game 5, yeah, I assume so. They're just, they're rolling. Everything's working out for them. They seem like they're destined.
I know, and I don't believe in destiny, like I said 2 weeks ago. But man, it sure
As a
seems
Leaf
like
fans, you can't believe in destiny.
no, I cannot. Game 7s, that's all you got to say to me, and then it's lights out. All right. Well, let's go on to the second topic here. We're going to talk about the East, of course, Carolina Hurricanes and the Florida Panthers. Now, Chris, the Hurricanes managed to save their season Monday evening with a win. Finally, they got the lead. That's a bonus. They scored first. What a bonus. And, they played pretty good. I thought they played pretty good. What happens in game 5, which is tonight? Can the Hurricanes somehow, I'm going to put it out there to you, win this series?
Mm-hmm.
Is this even possible? Well, we know it's
Well,
possible, but what's
yes,
the likelihood?
historically it's possible because it's happened 4 times in NHL history.
Yes.
Most recent was the LA Kings, San Jose Sharks, I believe, in the first round. And that San Jose Shark team was a very good team, and the Kings came back. And then I think a few years before that was Flyers in Boston. I don't recall if that was a conference final or second round when it happened.
I'm
The
not sure.
Flyers did it. And then the other two was back in the 20th century, and we don't care about 20th century anymore, right? Um, but this is the Stanley Cup champions are going against, right? It'll be very tough. I hope they can win tonight, and it's not because I'm going to say they're going to win tonight. They're going to win the series. No, I think the Carolina fans deserve a good performance after the first 2 games. Um, we've talked about this before about rest and rust. I think Carolina got screwed over because of the 6 days laid off, right? While Florida played against the Toronto Maple Leafs, 1 day off, played again, right? They're in rhythm. Everything is going fine. Carolina sat for 6 days getting ready for this series. Games 1 and 2, you couldn't even tell. Like, it was like, what is this team? Right? Even Brendan Moore was flabbergasted, right? It was like, what is going on? Yes, Chatfield was hurt. Morrow did not do well, but Morrow hadn't played in a month since the AHL team did not. No, they didn't make the playoffs. So he sat around for a month. I don't know how you can expect a rookie to come in after a month off, and you're not playing an NHL regular season game. You're playing a conference final level game, right?
Right.
So you're kind of throwing him under the bus. Then
Against the
Walker got hurt
defending champions at that.
against the Hells guys. Then Walker's out, right? So now we got our 2 right shot defensemen behind Burns out, and Nikishin's got back in. Brendan Moore was hesitant with Nikishin, and Nikishin in the last 2 games has showed that, one, yeah, he's ready. 2, he's everything, Carolina Hurricane fans in the last few years have been waiting for, right? And this is why I always said this was a retool year. Next year with Nikishin, Morrow, and then $30 million in cap space, Carolina is going to be back in the top of, the teams. And if you really look at it, if Anderson didn't crap the bed in Game 7 against the Rangers last year, we would have had Florida, Carolina in the conference final 3 years in a row. Right? And last year's team, Carolina's team last year, was a much better team, right, with all the talent they had on that group. But yeah, going back to what you said, yes, I want to win tonight. I hope they can win. Fans be happy. Then whatever happens in Game 6 and 7 happens, and move on. But historically, it can happen. Yes, the chances are 1% or less. Right? It's very
Right.
unlikely. And I think I also saw there's like 6 or 7 times a team did win 3 in a row, but then lost Game 7, just like last year's
Yeah,
Stanley Cup
like the
Finals.
Oilers. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that was the 6 or 7 time in history that happened. You won 3, got it back to even, but then eventually lost
You know,
Game 7.
I have a few things to say about this because I've been watching these games, and you and I were talking before we started recording. I was saying that, especially you, and you said it was the first 2 games. I thought it was some in the third game as well.
First 2 periods,
Carolina,
Carolina looked good. In the first, like that Game 3, first 2 periods, it looked like they got back to their game.
right?
And then
But then the third period,
just
what happened?
Orlov just fell apart. He just
But in the first 2 games, they couldn't cycle the puck
no,
at all,
no.
and they weren't competing. And you said, yes, you said that the Carolina team will always be a hard competing team. They weren't even competing. What the hell happened? Were they abducted by aliens and replaced by
I think it's a six
non-menacing
day it's a
robots?
6 day layoff, right? It's hard to get the juices and get back up to the level of play and the speed of play. And
See, I know that gets blamed for a lot of stuff, but I'm going to disagree with you here.
oh,
I'm a firm believer that the layoff does not hurt a team. I've
mhm.
heard it for years. These guys are professionals, and I just don't think that layoffs give you rust, especially 6 days. I just don't think it's enough. 2 weeks, yeah, sure. 6 days, I only think that it helps teams that are injured and beat up to recover a little bit. But hey, we can agree to disagree. But that's the way that I feel about
Mhm.
it. And I've felt this way about that for quite a while because I've always heard, oh, the rust. You can't prove it either way. You could very well be right. And
Well,
I'm not
yeah,
saying that
you
I'm right.
probably could look at the stats, but I just know Carolina the year they swept the Islanders in four, and then they got swept against Boston in the conference
I
finals right
remember that.
afterwards. Again,
I
because they were
remember that.
sitting there and waiting, right? So um, even in like talking to about another sport, baseball, we've seen baseball only have 2 or 3 days off, play in the playoffs, and then all of a sudden they lose, and it's like, what is going on, right? There's something about being in rhythm, being know what getting having your schedule, everything going, and then all of a sudden stop, and then okay, well 2 days off, then we're going to practice, and then we're going to practice. It's hard to get to a level of NHL speed in a practice, right? You could try to play as fast as you can in practice, but you just can't mimic that, right? And I think Florida was just rolling. If both teams had a layoff, then it shouldn't matter, right? If both teams have 5, 6 days, it shouldn't matter. But when you got one going and one not, yeah, I think in come playoff time, you're going with the rhythm.
Well, like I said, we can respectfully disagree with each other. I'd like to hear in the comments or read in the comments if anybody agrees with me or agrees with Chris or has some other explanation for it.
Mhm.
Because the Carolina Hurricanes did not look like Carolina those first two games.
No, no.
And the
Game
third period of
four,
game three, they did not look like Carolina either. And even in game four, even the game that they won, they were still giving the puck away at the blue line.
two
Man,
rookies, two rookies in the back end.
man, they're going to get
Four, and
killed.
if you count, they have 4 rookies playing. How many rookies does Florida have?
Well, zero.
Zero. Retool year.
Yeah, well, the last thing I want to see is Florida in the finals for the third year in a row. I can tell you that. I would just about give body parts to see Florida somehow lose this series, but yeah, good luck. Good luck.
Mhm.
Is there anything else you wanted to say about this series at all before we move on to our third topic?
Um, the only thing is, I'd like to step on the old soapbox is the narrative of how superior the Florida Panthers are, and the narrative that the Canes were pretenders to make it this far, right? I know it's easy for people who can just look at the score and say, "Oh yeah, Florida smashed them. They're not even at that level." Well, what did Game Four say? What did Game Four say?
Yeah,
This is a Carolina team that looked like the won the first round against the Devils and against the point or second in points Washington Capitals, right? Um, I It was pretty disappointing to see all that. I'm glad Carolina broke the conference final record, so no one, people kind of stopped talking about it for a little while. But yeah, it was really bad. Um, and of course, a lot of these people who like to make these quick decisions. I have you heard of recency bias?
absolutely.
Yeah, it spreads very easily to the unintellectual sports fans, um, but it's pretty easy to cure. Right? You just gotta look at history, get educated to say, no, 3 or 4 games isn't going to dictate. Again, a perfect example is Ratanen, 14 points in 5 games.
I know I had him in my pool that I'm in.
Recency bias, someone is going to say, yep, he's going to continue doing that for the rest of his career in the playoffs. He's the man. He's the man.
Nope,
No,
that's why I
he's not
dropped
going to
him.
average 3 points a game. It's not
That's
going to happen. History says it's not going to happen. And then what it is, 4 points in the last 10 or something like that, right? Yes, this is how sports work. You have your ups, you have your downs, and the average is what a player or a team is.
right.
But recency bias is just, it's brutal out there in social media and people's thoughts. And I know a lot of people like to look at the standings, and if a team has 109 points and another team has 108, well, the 109-point team's better. Okay, well, guess what? Carolina had one more point than the Florida Panthers this year. Where's the narrative that they're the better team, right? Come on. It's bad. Anyways, off my soapbox. I just wanted to throw that out there. All right, next topic.
Okay, let's go on to the third topic before you lose your mind. We're going to talk a little bit about goaltending and what we were seeing here in the playoffs. I already mentioned this, but not only Skinner being pulled, but Anderson has been pulled as well.
Mm-hmm.
Skinner more, obviously, but Still, both teams are back to their main guys in nets, right? Chris, I'm going to ask you a tough question. Should Anderson have even been pulled at all?
No, I don't think he should have because everything came out of those first two games that it wasn't on Anderson, right? The team in front of him just giving away pucks and guys coming right down Broadway, right, for prime scoring spots and to
Yep.
score. Um, and I did see somebody, some at Sportsnet, made a comment about, well, Anderson hadn't played 12 games and blah, blah, many years in a row, and he needed a rest. He had, as we talked about, he had 6 days of rest before the series started. I couldn't believe my ears, whoever that on the Sportsnet broadcast made that comment. Ridiculous. So, no, I don't think he should have been pulled. And I see game four, he made a couple of good saves, but he wasn't really asked to do a lot in that game four, which is when Carolina's playing well. They don't ask their goalie to do a lot, right? Make a couple
Right.
saves, a couple of high danger spots. Other than that, Carolina's going to have the puck and then before checking, and it's still going to be all good for that standpoint. But no, Anderson shouldn't have been pulled. Kokechkov again, some breakdowns in that third period, kind of wasn't fair to him, but Anderson is the starter for this team for this playoffs.
Yeah, and the reason why I asked the question is because I didn't think he should have been pulled. I really didn't. I
No.
was like, really? How much is this is Anderson's fault? I
I
just
think
couldn't
Brendan
see it.
Moore said he just wanted to kind of change the vibe or change, whatever wording he used
Well,
for the team. But
it's funny you were talking about the rest because I heard them talking about that. And
yeah,
I'm like, what are you guys talking about?
exactly. Experts, Whitey, experts on national
Yeah.
television spewing garbage.
Yes, spewing garbage. I agree because I heard exactly what you're talking about, and I don't usually watch Sportsnet that much. I like TSN better,
Hmm.
but I heard that and I'm like, what are these guys talking about? Is this guy out to lunch or what? And like you said, I don't even know who it was now. I forget, but it was a crazy
Yeah, I
statement.
don't know if it was during the game or it was an intermission. I can't remember, but the
No,
other
it
thing
was.
that really irritated me was the empty net goal by Aho.
Oh,
And they're showing the replays, and all they could talk about is Shefnikov and how dangerous that play was, and how lucky Aho's stick was on the ice, and
well,
they shouldn't have done that.
I think
Not,
Aho knew that that was going to come. I'm sure they
oh
were
yeah,
talking
Aho had to
about
stick
it. So
down on the ice, which you're supposed to do,
yeah,
but not a single word about how they scored that empty net goal. Not one word about Jarvis
right.
and what
Yes,
he did to get that puck. He
right.
came
Yeah,
underneath to Chuck, forced the Chuck to go to the blue line, and he jumped it. Like my son calls Jarvis an empty net merchant, but I keep telling him, you're outmanned and you have to get the puck. This guy gets it. This guy competes one on one. He
right.
is so smart. He's so intelligent, and he's able to win these battles. And Matthew Tkachuk, everyone glazes him. Well, Jarvis stole his lunch money, created that shorthanded goal. But did the Sportsnet guys talk about Jarvis and his play? No. It's all about Sheftikov making a dangerous pass for open net.
Pretty.
They're already on for Florida. They're already in full glaze. Florida, get to the Stanley Cup Finals. So, and everything is about, well, what can Florida do to get back in this? And no, guys, enough. Right? You know your agenda. Enough.
Yes, it's not hard to figure out mainstream media's agenda, sports or any other. I mean, it's easy to figure it out. You just have to
Yeah.
listen to them for a few minutes.
Yeah.
So, and before we go any further, and I have a question here about Mikko Rantanen, but we kind of covered it. But I just want to say that he did lead playoff scoring at the end of the last series with 19 points. He was ahead of everybody, McDavid and Draisaitl. And in 4 games, Rantanen now has 21 points, meaning he has 2 points in 4 games.
Hmm.
And he didn't score. Those were both assists. And one of them, I believe, was a secondary assist. So, yeah, I had him in the second round and I dropped him because I figured there's no way he's going to be scoring like that again. There's no way he could be scoring
Correct.
all those points.
It's got to even out. And how about that Stankoven, huh?
Yeah, I mean, and I have him now.
Oh, good choice. Good
But
choice.
yeah, well, if they play more games, it's
You
good.
need
But if
more
they
games out
don't,
of him. Yeah.
I need more games out of him for sure.
No, he's definitely. If you ask what's a Carolina Hurricane player look like, Jarvis, Stankoven,
Right.
Guys like that. That's what you want to build around, right? That's
Well,
the
Jarvis, a really good player. I've liked Aho for quite a while, though. I've liked him for multiple years.
Yeah, I was struggling after that game-winning goal in overtime against the Devils. He didn't score in the last series, and that was an empty net. There's, there's only two ways for Carolina to really push us to a game seven, at least to get there. One, Aho has to start scoring and producing. But
Right.
two, we need Bad Bob to show up too. It would be
Well,
nice if Bad Bob showed up.
I talked about Bad Bob, and I was right
Yeah,
at the beginning of the Toronto series, but then he shut
yeah.
the door after that. And well, Toronto just looked so awful in those two 6-1 losses. It wouldn't have mattered if it was Bad Bob or not.
Hmm.
So but I, our good friend Claude and I were talking about this the other day, and Claude mentioned it, and I think he's right. If if the Toronto goalie, if he wouldn't have got injured, I really think they would have won the series.
Yeah, he was playing well. He
You
was
know,
playing
he's just
well.
and
And you saw he came out and said it was the Sam Bennett elbow, right? That
yeah,
it
I did
wasn't the
see it.
shot. He came out and said it was the Sam Bennett elbow that knocked him out. So,
I
yeah,
still say the shot had something to do with it too, though. He can say all he wants, but it had to ring his
true.
bell.
True. If his bell's wrong, yeah, yeah. It's hard
Right.
to know what exactly if he has an agenda by saying that or not, but
Yeah.
maybe just kind of a way to say that, hey, he did hit me, but you watch those replays, it seems so glancing and just nonchalant. Like I just, it's hard to
I've
say that Bennett had
I've
any intent at all.
I've never seen a player hit a goalie in the head with his elbow while he had the puck. I don't think I've ever
Yeah,
seen that before.
yeah.
I'm sure it's happened. I just haven't seen it. But
Yeah.
anyway,
There's been a
let's
few questionable hits, guys getting
well,
hurt, and
I
and
w-
there's been no
no,
suspensions afterwards, right? It's
well
interesting.
before we go tonight after our hockey profit segment, I want to get into a little something. See what you think.
Mhm.
All right. So, but we're going to hit the hockey profit segment where tonight you are the hockey profit. Chris, now I got questions here. It says Chris Mike, Chris Mike, Chris Mike.
So it's going to be Chris, 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 Chris.
Yes. And some of these questions might not seem like I like to try and aim the questions at the person.
No Montreal Canadian questions, please.
There's no Montreal Canadian questions here. Okay.
Thank you.
And if there was, I would change it or eliminate it. All right. So, Chris,
I
are
know
you ready
Mike
to?
loves the Canadians, though. That's why I
I
know
know
you
he
throw those
does.
in there.
He is a secret Canadians fan. His wife
Big
has told
time.
me that, and I know it's true. So,
Yeah.
all right, Chris, are you ready for the hockey profit segment?
Yep. Let's go.
All right, number one, Chris, what percentage chance do you give the Hurricanes to win game three? Oh, sorry. What percentage chance do you give the Hurricanes to win 3 games in a row? What do you think? Is it
To win
1%?
the series?
Yep.
1%.
1%. Okay.
Yeah.
Number two, who has stepped it up on the Oilers' defense with Ekholm injured?
Bouchard. He
Yeah.
hasn't the mistakes that he seems they love to show 10,000 times in media and social media hasn't really appeared. And I think Darnell Nurse is still leading them in ice time.
You know what? Darnell
Um,
Nurse looks much better than he
yeah,
did last year. That's what I think.
and I think the comment I heard today was that he's not on the ice with McDavid and Draisaitl.
Right.
And they think that's helping him because I think with them on the ice, he's thinking, "Oh, I got to get in the offensive zone. I got to do more."
Gets out of position.
When those guys are off the ice and he's on, he's I think thinking more about defense first. So that's
Right.
probably whoever the coach or whatever whoever made that decision is probably a good decision because Darnell Nurse is not a $9.5 million player. He never will be. So it's best not to try to put him in a spot to try to be that guy.
Right.
Just be what you can do.
All right. Number three, what position do the Hurricanes need to upgrade the most?
I think the two defensive spots are going to, like I said, it's already should be taken care of with Morrow and Nikishkin. There's a chance maybe they go get someone else instead of Morrow and they keep Morrow as depth for a while. Chance. Um, Top six scoring winger. And the unicorn is a right shot number two center. They're so hard to find. Every team's looking for it. There's not
Ta-
a lot available.
Tavares.
Tavares. I think Nick Schmaltz is the sleeper out there. I just don't see how they're going to fill that. So to me, it's
Car-
going to be top six.
Carolina has lots of cap space.
They have the cap space to throw tons of money at Marner. Unless Marner already has a destination in mind, Blackhawks is coming up. experts are throwing Las Vegas. No, Las Vegas has made so many. No, it's not happening unless Las Vegas can dump some guys. Marner's not
Right.
going.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it'll happen.
So if it's the Blackhawks, okay, I guess you go with Bedard, but Blackhawks are still a couple of years away.
At
Um,
least.
and they got to be careful if they bring in too many big guys because then how are you going to pay these other guys, the young guys they have now? Um, Nicholas Ehlers, I know Zach likes him. He's watched a little bit of him. But yeah, I could see a free agent splash, and I think I can also see a trade for another top six guy. We
All
don't
right.
need third line, fourth line guys. We need some probably two high end top six forwards to come in. Alex Tuck in Buffalo. He's on his last year of his deal. He's a big body, scores shorthanded goals. I think he would be a real good fit there. Buffalo's probably going to move some people out because they got to do something in Buffalo because they got all that talent. They can't win. Um, this is hockey profit, right? I probably went a little too long on this,
It's
but yeah,
okay. You got stuff
yeah,
to say it. Who
yeah.
cares?
Two top six forwards. They might upgrade in the D somehow, but I think I don't see a second line center come. I just don't know other than Schmaltz who else they could get at this point.
All right. Okay. Well, number 4, are the Oilers kryptonite for the Dallas Stars?
2 years in a row, right? Dallas.
I
People
mean,
thought Dallas could handle them, and
let's say the series is not over yet, though.
no, it is not over yet. But yeah, yeah, it's some teams out there. They have their team's numbers, right? And it's hard to get past them. Like
Oilers and the LA
and
Kings.
LA Kings, right? I think the Kings are. And the Kings. Oh, who did they hire? Holland. Oh, boys. Like I, yeah. So the answer is yes, probably most
All
likely. If they
right.
lose this series, yeah. There's a few teams out there, right? You know, Colorado can't get past Dallas. Dallas can't get past the Oilers. There seems to be some matchups there that just don't work for some teams.
Right, right. Number 5, Chris, you're going to love this one. If Carolina does come back and go to the finals,
Mm-hmm.
will you still say the Oilers will win the cup?
Nope, nope. All the vibes, the aura will slide over to the Carolina Hurricanes.
Well, that's not what you said 2
Yeah.
weeks ago, but okay,
Well,
you're allowed to change your mind.
Carolina will be the main. They have main character vibes in the Stanley Cup Finals if they
All
can get
right.
there.
Okay, and number 6 finally, and I'm sure you'll be glad when this is all done with. And this, remember now, this was a Mike question. Should the Flyers have just kept Bobrovsky?
There's a lot of goalies Flyers probably should have just kept. Um, that's really the answer for I think for that. There's a lot of goalies that have won cups after leaving Philadelphia. But
That's
Bobrovsky's been
true.
streaky, right? He's had years where he's looked golden, and he's had years where you're like, what? Like, I'm not talking about a 5, 10 game span. I'm talking about a whole year where he's just been
Yeah.
terrible.
But man, in front of this, or well, backstopping this Florida team, he looks like gold.
Mm-hmm.
They just seem to know how to protect him enough that he's able to get the job done.
And I think there was a picture of him last week. Someone shared on Twitter, right? He has equipment off, and the guy's like, wow, you see him at Ness and you think he's like 6'3", 220, and he looks like he's 130 pounds. It's like,
Well,
yep,
Hellerbuck looks the same thing, just a
yep.
skinny,
The
you
equipment
know.
really, the equipment's still pretty big.
Yeah,
I know they kind of cut back on this, 15, 20 years ago in equipment
right.
sizes, but
They made the pads smaller again, not that many years ago. I know
yeah.
they did it again.
But
So,
those shoulder pads and,
yep,
equipment that they say, oh, we need it for safety. No, no, you need it to stop pucks. That's what you
right.
need it
That's
for.
right. That's right. Well, I mean, the, I just got to say, I had to throw that Bobrovsky question in there. I mean, you can't say he's not a good goaltender. Obviously, he's a
No,
good goalie.
yeah.
And he's streaky sometimes, but he's
How many
more on than
Vesnas?
he's off.
He's at 2 or 3 Vesnas? I think he's had multiple Vesnas, right?
You know what? I'm not sure. I don't know how
Yeah.
many. Mike would know.
Yeah. And if he wins another cup, he's going to be a Hall of Fame goalie.
Yeah, well, I think he's going to be one now. I don't even think he has to win another cup. I think he's going to be in the Hall of Fame now.
Yeah.
So, all right, Chris. Anything else you want to talk about? You were talking about something a while ago before we came to this, and then I said I wanted to get into.
Oh, some of the hits and injuries and people.
Yeah, well, I
And
I
no
wanted
suspensions.
right. Well, it's really strange, and I know, like in the intro, I say we talk everything hockey, and pretty much we do. But I'm going to back up a minute here and not talk about hockey because I follow some of the WNBA stuff. Yes, I know, crazy, but I really like Caitlin Clark, and I think she's a
Hmm.
really awesome player. And to me, they're just beating the living crap out of her.
Hmm.
They're
There's a
beating the living
lot of
tar out of her and
petty
flattening her.
jealousness. Yeah.
Yeah, flattening her and not getting penalties called against. It's just unreal.
Uh-huh.
And I heard someone say on a YouTube video that I was watching, and I should promote the channel, but I forget which one it was now off the top of my head. It's like this is the only league that does not protect its stars, the WNBA. And I get thinking about it, I'm like, whoa, wait a
No.
minute, timeout, timeout. I don't think the NHL protects its stars either.
Nope.
I
Nope.
just wondering what you thought about that. Am I
Nope.
crazy?
100%. No, no, 100%. No, they don't. Caitlin Clark, yeah. What? So you're telling me you don't watch the WNBA for Angel Reese? She thinks you do, Whitey. She thinks you're watching NBA because of Angel Reese, the
Well,
layup merchant. Oh, I'm sorry, rebounding. Oh no, she can't do that either. She can't do anything. Caitlin Clark is so far ahead of her. Caitlin Clark has made people want to watch the WNBA.
right.
And there's the veterans in that league are tremendously jealous because of her aura coming into that league, and those girls are like, "Hey, we've been here and we're stars, and we've won Olympics. Why aren't we getting that same type of coverage?" Right? So yeah, they're very very petty. Um, and in NHL, no, there's really not much protection for stars, right? It's
I mean, we had
you can do whatever, and yeah.
well,
I know some coaches like to say, "Oh, if that was McDavid, he'd be suspended." I was like, no, haven't seen that type of biasness. It's usually the offender. If he's got a track record, then he might get a suspension, right? But other than that, on who it's on, no.
well, whatever episode it was, remember I was going on about McDavid and how many times he gets penalties, like he draws
Oh,
penalties
it's penalty.
somehow,
I
and
I
compared to how many he gets himself, and I just
I
thought that it was a
hate that
crazy
word.
stat.
I hate that word drawn penalties. It almost sounds like players are out there trying to get fouls for a penalty. I don't like that term. I know they
Right.
use it all the time. I'm like, you're out there to play hockey. You're not out there to get fouled. Because then I'm thinking to myself, are you embellishing? Are you getting
Yeah.
all these fouls because you're falling easier? Are you embellishment? But yes, McDavid's on the top there. Probably because guys are mostly trying to hook and grab and slow him down because he's coming in there 10,000 miles per hour. Um, but even so, in theory, he should be drawing 3 or 4 times more penalties than the
Absolutely.
next guy because of the speed he brings and the attention he gets. Yeah,
If they were calling the penalties on him like they do some of the other players, if like what's happening to him, if they would call those penalties, and Edmonton was on the power play twice as much as other teams, teams would stop doing it.
yeah,
They'd have to because they'd be losing games so badly. The power play would just kill them.
yeah,
That 38% would be monstrous. They'd be winning games 8-4. They wouldn't even need a goalie. They just outscore you on the power play.
yeah. Another comparison would be Shaquille O'Neal, right? He
Yeah,
got hacked every freaking game, and only a few times they would call a foul, right? You were allowed to hit him. You were allowed to do because he's so big,
right.
right? They didn't protect him. No.
But now the NBA protects their stars. That's what I
Oh,
find.
way they do it. Way it's terrible. This whole fragrant foul because you push a guy down. In the 80s, guys were getting elbowed in the nose and breaking people's noses, and you might got a fragrant foul for that, right?
Right.
It's no, the NBA has gone way too soft, and it's hurting. Yeah, less and less people are watching them because of it. Even I have trouble watching it now because guys are flopping out. Like Shea Alexander, the Canadian NBA player,
Yep. You know who it
MVP of the
is.
league, he's flopping. He's flopping too much, and it irritates me. It just irritates me how he's as I call him, a free throw merchant. Right? He's going in there and he's come on, all right. But when you made the league so soft, these little things are fouls. They're going to do it, right?
Right. Yeah, I know it's true. It's true. Well, I just thought I would bring that up because it's not just the WNBA that doesn't protect its
Mhm.
stars. The NHL, I believe, does not protect its stars either, or not as much as I wish they would. I wish they would call the penalties in the playoffs like they do in the regular season, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah. I
Not
think
anytime
football
soon.
might be the only league where they protect that certain star quarterback.
Yeah, well, the NFL for sure.
That's probably the one that really sticks out. Because in baseball, it doesn't matter if you throw it if you throw it on his head or some guy that just came on a rookie ball. If you throw it at their head, you're getting, I think 3-5 games, whatever it is, minimum, right? So
Right.
yeah, no, I
Yep.
think the NFL quarterbacks are the only really, really overprotected uh, stars in any league that I can think of at this point.
All right. Well, we're a little long in the tooth, but it's stuff that I wanted to talk about. So personally, I don't care if we're a little long in the tooth. But I think we're going to leave it there for tonight. Now, make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment in the comment section. Agree with me or agree with Chris.
Rust.
I think you should agree with me. Rust doesn't matter for NHL players.
Rust.
All right. So we'll see you next week, folks. Later.
Later.